This film comparison study intends to focus on how psychological film theory is presented through film techniques. Psychological film theory is how movies trigger a deep emotional response within the viewer and how a film can capture what the human mind is thinking. Film techniques utilized in The Perks of Being a Wallflower and Ordinary People that exemplify the psychological film theory are cinematography, editing, and mise-en-scène. These two films are able to perfectly depict what it feels like to face mental struggles through the art of film. Both The Perks of Being a Wallflower and Ordinary People contrast psychological themes with historical context. When The Perks of Being a Wallflower was released in 2012, psychological themes such as mental illness were far more normalized than they were during the time of Ordinary People's release date in 1980. 45 years ago from today, mental health was a private thing, and seeking help was heavily frowned upon. Therapy is still relatively new today. At the 2014 Santa Barbara International Film Festival, Robert Redford mentions that, similar to his characters Beth and Calvin, who lost their eldest son/older brother, he also faced loss since he grew up in a patriotic time. He lost his mother and his firstborn. During this time, he wanted to express that he was impacted by the losses from the Second World War, but he couldn't express the way those losses made him feel. Robert states that he wanted to tell a story about people who were afraid to look inside themselves to uncover things that might be more unpleasant. Beth, from his film Ordinary People, was afraid to look inside herself, and she's bottled up a lot of complicated feelings. She's determined to shut out the pain she feels from the loss of her eldest son in a boating accident, and she is in denial of the feelings she is facing, while her husband Calvin acknowledges the loss of the family. Beth choosing not to look into her true feelings harms her son Conrad's mental status because it reflects the idea that he should keep his feelings all bottled up and kept to himself. Well-known film critic Roger Ebert gave an analysis on the film, saying, "The movie's central problems circle almost fearfully around the complexities of love. The parents and the remaining child all love one another, of course, but the father's love for the son is sincere yet also inarticulate, almost shy. The son's love for his mother is blocked by his belief that she doesn't really love him. She only loved the dead brother. And the love between the two parents is one of those permanent facts that both take for granted, and neither has ever really tested." Because of Beth refusing to acknowledge her feelings, in a way, she's refusing to acknowledge Conrad. Timestamp 14 minutes and 29 seconds in. The camera shows walls framing the scene with the dining room within. The camera is pushing in, heightening focus on the mise-en-scène. Walls have brown and white stripes with a gray curtain and windows with white bordering. Calvin, the father, is wearing a white button-up with a gray vest with what looks to be a dotted tie hidden beneath. Son Conrad is wearing a gray-blue, long-sleeve plaid shirt combining those colors with a cluttered pattern. Conrad's plaid button-up is considered a mixture of rugged workwear. Calvin's polka dot tie was considered an accessory that added balance to his outfit in the 80s. Beth is wearing a well-polished, primarily brown outfit. Back to the scenery of their dining room, two lines are going down the table, dividing it into three imaginary sections. This gives the audience room to believe that this was an intentional choice by Robert Redford to show that the division in feelings amongst the three. That is further backed up by Beth wearing a white napkin in her lap to show etiquette. Beth, during this dinner that is inside her home, is dressed for a formal dinner, but her husband and son are not. Beth is the only one at the table wearing the napkin. This contrasts the difference between formal and informal. Beth wants to convey professionalism and create an image for herself to hide the gray area of her feelings. Her choosing to put on this act in her own home shows how much people had to repress themselves 45 years ago to feel ensured security. The creator's choice of mise-en-scène using wardrobe leaves room for interpretation that there is a connection between Conrad and Calvin because they are not afraid to show how they are feeling. They don't fear the image it may set for them. While the mother, Beth, wants to fit in while wearing typical suburban attire and showing class because she doesn't want to differentiate from others. She just wants things to be normal. The Perks of Being a Wallflower is a perfect film to contrast this in terms of historical differences because everybody's outfits are so diverse from one another without being forced into a stereotypical box. In 2012, self-expressionism is far more normalized than it was for Beth. The scene where they went to the Hollywood Theater in Dormont on a Saturday at midnight. Patrick takes on the lead role and his friends are backup dancers performing a Rocky Horror Picture Show. The Rocky Horror Picture Show is a movie that not only entertains but also profoundly highlights the importance of self-expression. It represents a culture of personal expression of sex and beauty beyond age, gender, body type, and more. Patrick is a homosexual male, and for his performance, he is wearing a hyper-feminine outfit while performing flamboyantly. Stereotypically, during this time, it was the standard for people to assume that he was automatically a homosexual. However, Charlie is a known straight male. While putting on what looks to be a golden Speedo that transitions into the same corset with tights underneath that Patrick was wearing, he wears this outfit with confidence because he does not have fragile masculinity. He is proud to be himself, especially with his friends. It does not concern him whether people judge him for this performance, unlike Beth, who put on a character to make herself well presented. Stefan Chbosky, in an interview, says, "The characters of Sam and Patrick were an amalgamate and celebration of several people Chbosky has met. Sam was based on girls who confided in him, and Patrick was all kids I knew who were gay and finding their way to their own identity." The mise-en-scène shows the difference historically, in comparison to the 80s when Ordinary People took place. Psychological film theory is at its peak when Charlie is facing post-traumatic stress disorder after Sam placed her hand on his thigh. Andrew Dunn, the cinematographer for The Perks of Being a Wallflower, uses a Dutch angle when Charlie enters the house while having flashbacks. Dutch angles in this context intend to show psychological issues or mental distress. This is paired with rapid shots of his memories with slow shots of his aunt during his childhood. This shows all his repressed memories coming back to him. This choice of cinematography triggers a deep emotional response within the viewer because they perfectly capture through camera angles what Charlie is thinking in that moment. In contrast, Conrad is filled with rage due to his suppressed emotions bottling up. He reacts very quickly, without thinking, with aggression and violence. After he finished beating up a friend who made a nasty remark, his friend went to comfort Conrad, asking if he wanted to talk, but Conrad does not know how to share his feelings and pushes him away, saying it hurts too much to be around him. Already overwhelmed by these emotions, he receives word that his friend he made in the mental hospital committed suicide. This was a surprise to him because she was a joyous girl with many new hobbies. This triggers Conrad. With flashbacks to his brother's tragedy, once again, cinematography with slower-paced, rapid editing of his flashbacks appear. As he is going deeper into the memory, the cuts become faster. Stephen Chbosky and Robert Redfield, through both of their films, show how historical differences impact psychological film theory, shown through film techniques such as cinematography, editing, and mise-en-scène. Ordinary People and The Perks of Being a Wallflower trigger a deep emotional response within the viewer.